Here's the question from section 2.3, I believe. It's question number 4. You have two investments with an annual income of $1,244, and one investment with an interest rate of 7.3% and the other interest rate of 11.9%. It's stating that the total amount is invested is $12,000, and it's asking how much is in each account. I find the best way to set this up is to write everything down. You can certainly use the box or chart method, as he ended up explaining for you to use, and it's pretty simple that way. With the box method, you're just going to have your two comparisons. Pretty simple. Just write down the first comparison to the second comparison. Yeah, the first is 7.3%, and the other one is 11.9%. You can consider this A and B. This should be able to work with most types of problems in this chapter. So if you want to consider just A and B, by all means. Now, with this type of problem, it's asking, it states about the principal, the rate, and actual interest earned. You have a formula in the book, and it's interest equals the principal times the rate, and as long as we have the principal and as long as we have the rate, we can figure out the interest. If we have the interest in the principal, we can figure out the rate. So what's basically stating is that we don't know what the principal is and for each amount. Principal will be right here. So it's a curious amount for A and just as curious for amount B. That's the whole point of this question. But we do know what the rate is. Obviously, we have the 7.3%. Changing it into a percent, we divide 7.3 by 100. That's going to be 0.073. And then we also have the percentage rate for 11.9%. Divide by 100, you get 0.119. And lastly, as expected, we know what the actual interest rate, we can basically figure out what the interest rate earned is. Actually, between the two of them, the total amount, it mentioned it was $12.44. That $12.44 was going to come down here. Usually this is going to be considered the total column for each side. So the total will be $12.44 down here, because as soon as you add up these two, and then you add up these two, this section plus this section should equal this section. Well, the question is, we don't know what this is. And we don't know what this is, but if you add both of them together, it tells you in the question that when both investments are added together, it's a total of $12,000. So at this point, we can just pick one of the two to be the variable amount. I'm just going to pick the first one, just for consistency. Well, if this is going to be one amount, and if this plus the second one equals 12,000, then to equal this one, you could easily go x plus some other variable b equals 12,000. Or, if you minus the x, b equals 12,000 minus x. And really, you can just write that right here, just so you can have the same variable, instead of having two different variables. So we're going to write 12,000 minus x here, and so all these boxes are filled in. Now, if this was the interest rate, and this is the interest rate total, we can actually use this equation, interest rate earned is equal to the principal times the rate. We can multiply the principal times the rate to equal the interest. So we have x as our first principal, and our rate is 0.073. Multiply the two together, you get 0.073x. And the same thing occurs down below. The rate is 0.119, and the principal is 12,000 times x. We're going to keep the 12,000 times x as its own entity, and because there's addition or subtraction with it, we're going to have to put that in parentheses. So it's going to be 12,000 minus x, and that's going to be multiplied by this 0.119. So now we have the interest rate earned from each, from the 7.3% and then the 11.9%. And we know that if you add up both of these, interest earned, you'll get the total amount actually earned. And as I mentioned before, if you add the first plus the second will equal the third, simple enough, we can actually just write that out. 0.073x plus 0.119 times 12,000 minus x literally equals 1,244. Now you can multiply across. You'll get 0.073x plus, if you use your calculator, you should get 1428. And then multiply across, you get minus, because it's negative times it's positive. You'll get 0.119x equals 1244. Then you can combine like terms. You're going to get a negative 0.046x. And then if you subtract the 1428 on one side, subtract on the other, this equals 0. This will equal, let's see, 184. Go ahead and use your calculator. And then finally, that's going to be a negative 184. And then, just to solve it, divide by negative 0.046, divided by negative 0.046. Negative 0.046 divided by itself equals 1. You divide here, your x is going to equal 4,000. So this 4,000 corresponds to this first R, or this first percentage, which is the 7.3%. So your 7.3% equals $4,000. And we mentioned that the 11.9% equals the 12,000 minus the variable amount, which is the 4,000, which equals a total of $8,000 for the 11.9%. Here are your two answers.